Okay, this match review comes to us today from the Nefarious alien, parentheses alien instinct they also put, who has 348 hours in the game of Dead by Daylight. So you're not quite at that like 1K-ish hours. I expect people to have their fundamentals consistently down, so that being able to have relatively quick chases, pressure your gens, that sort of stuff. So you have some stuff that's probably going to fall through the cracks a little bit, but that'll come as you continue to play, so I wouldn't stress about that too much. You are playing the Xenomorph, which is a strong B-tier killer with a very moderately high skill floor. They're not one of the hardest characters in the game, but they're moderately difficult. 10 being like most difficult, 1 being really easy. I put them like a 6-ish, give or take. You really have to learn how to manage your turrets, and their strength isn't too great. They're very, very solid. Like I said, they can be a strong B tier when played right, but you have to also learn the ins and outs of all the environment as well because of your tail attack, having to respect it. There's just kind of a lot that goes into this character for them being like B plus tier at best, so just keep that in mind. What is absolutely not great is the fact that you're on Trickster's Illusion, which is a map that came out that is quickly becoming one of the most hard to win on killer maps in the game. This map is pretty egregious for the fact that it has a lot of god windows, a lot of god palettes, a lot of palettes tied together. The downside on the survivor end is that like there's not a lot of like true quote-unquote tiles. So it really is a lot of just like W keying and pre-dropping and W keying to the god windows and that sort of thing. But if you know to do that, this map can be like near unwinnable on killer. It's going up there with like Batum, Disturb War and stuff like that. So that's not good. But let's take a look at your add-ons and your perks. All right, so names hidden privacy. Okay, yeah, I do the same thing. In terms of your add-ons, you're using really good add-ons here. You're using Lambert's Star Map, which reduces the range of the turrets from 10 meters down to 8 meters. It's one of, if not their best add-on to run on the Xenomorph, so that's good. You're also running Self-Destruct Bolt, which is also a top add-on on this character, which increases your vault while in crawler mode by 30%. Very, very good. You can use other stuff like Harpoon Gun or Molted Skin, for example, but these add-ons are also amazing. So just keep that in mind that you have other options as well, but these are perfectly fine. These will not hinder you in any way. These are an excellent choice. As for your perks, you're running what I have called my ultimate Xenomorph build. That being Nowhere to Hide, Eruption, Pop, and Bamboozle. Bamboozle synergizes with Self-Destruct Bolt, allowing you to have quick chases that end very, very quickly, and that fuels your ability to charge Pop Goes the Weasel, which is good for damaging gens. When you kick that gen, you get 2 effects, first being Nowhere to Hide, so you can catch any rats nearby and start your next chase, but also Eruption, so when you finish your next chase, you get a little bit of extra spice, a little bit of extra damage on the gen. It's just a build that flows really, really well. So you're not going to be losing because of your add-ons or your perks, because you picked excellently. But yeah, you're not going to be having a rough time because your add-ons or your perks. Excellent choice. Let's go take a look at the game itself. He just attacked my arm. Okay, you find somebody really early, which is good. Oh, little disorienting. I would take out that turret first. Okay, in this situation, the reason you run add-ons like Lambert Star Map and Emergency Helmet is so you have more flexibility to either avoid the turrets entirely or break them using your lunge. You want to break turrets with your lunge or your base attack more often than you do with your tail, because whenever you tail attack and you don't hit a survivor, you go on a cooldown of 1.2 meters a second movement speed. Whenever that happens, so you physically move slower whenever your tail attack doesn't connect with the survivor, and that includes whenever you attack a turret. It does not count as a hit. The only thing counts as a hit is hitting the survivor. So you want to kind of avoid that movement speed penalty as much as possible. So you should be ideally breaking turrets with your lunge as much as you can. What the tail attack is good for is that your tail attack will break it faster. So if you're in a bind where you're like, you didn't realize the turret was around you and you're like right away, then the tail attack will break it quicker, which is better than losing your power. Or for another example, if you already have flame charges built up from a different turret and you run into another one, you should tail attack because it will break it quicker. But otherwise you should be lunging to break your turrets. I have a bad habit of always playing quality builds milk, so understandable to be honest. That was a really risky hit. You should have followed her through that window. Usually I wouldn't recommend that, but you have Self-Destruct Bolt and Bamboozle. So you're vaulting way faster. So you could have just followed her there instead of trying to cut her off. That scared me a little bit. One thing I've noticed is that you're strafing with your camera, not your body. Typically, if you're strafing, so you're going like left to right to cover like a wider area with the Xenomorph's tail, you should be using your movement. So left analog stick on controller or WASD on keyboard. The reason you do this is because as you're noticing, when you try to flick with your camera, a lot of the time it's going to be like kind of too erratic and it's going to be hitting the walls in the environment a little too much. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Very much appreciate it. Whereas you have far more control over just like letting your body do the movement and then using your mouse or your right analog stick to just kind of adjust as needed. Think of your camera movement as adjustment, but the main strafe should be done with your body movement. It makes it far more stable. Also, I don't know if I said hi to you, gentlemen. Crow. Hopefully you're doing well. Sorry. I must have been really distracted with the match if I didn't. My apologies. Okay, you came out, but you didn't see anybody there, so you just kind of were like taking a blind look. Okay, you hear people on this, so yeah, you should come up. Oh, it was the other one. You just heard the wrong one. Okay, you do have pop here, which is good. Yeah, unfortunately, that first chase with Sable is really lengthy. Yeah, that's rough. Unfortunately, it seems like the players you're facing know that like W King is the best policy on Trickster's Delusion, which is why the map's so frick-fracking annoying. Okay, good. Breaking that with the lunge this time. Well, it's more of a basic attack because he didn't actually lunge, but you get the point. Bringing it with your basic attack instead. Good job breaking that. Ooh, you should have stayed on her. There's no reason to get distracted to go for Ada here, especially considering the fact that those first two gens went relatively quickly. There's not really a benefit per se to go for a fresh survivor here. You really should be like trying to go for as quick a chase as possible so you can keep fueling your pop eruption to kind of get this game back under control. You got distracted here and it's going to hurt you a lot. Good shot. Oh, everybody does this. Everybody does that. Everybody does that. And I don't know why. They always run into this building in particular thinking they can run through it. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Because like when it first came out, the map first came out, I'm like, okay, well it's new, right? Can't help that. But like after, I feel like at this point, this came out earlier, so people should know at this point. It's choosing to shut down the window early. You get distracted very easy. You're very like, ooh, piece of candy. Okay, I think one thing I'm noticing that is actually kind of very subtly hurting you is that you have, I want to say an obsession, but you really like going for these really ambitious like mind games where you try to like cut somebody off going the long way around an object. And while that's cool and funny whenever it happens, realistically, it only happens to survivors who aren't paying attention. So what you're putting yourself into a situation here is the possibility of what's happening now where they know what you're doing and then they just make a ton of distance. This is like the second or third time this has happened this game. So you're just kind of giving a bunch of survivors free distance, which extra hurts considering the fact that you have like bamboozle, self-destruct bolt and stuff like that, where you can just like, you know, chase them down, keep a lot of like distance, keep close up on them, and then even if they make a window, you can just shut down the window. Like, you have a good chase set up here, and you're just like, you're kind of giving it away for free just for like a very ambitious mind game that just continually isn't working out. And despite that, you keep going for these really ambitious mind games. So I would try to those under wraps. Try not to go for those. Good shot. Good try. It might be too late now, though. Quite frankly. Because you've just had way too long of chases so far. Because you've gone for a lot of ambitious mind games instead of just, like, getting the quick and easy down. Maybe the person went for the unhook is injured, so, yeah. Honestly, I'd slug here, but you're probably not going to. Yeah. But I'd say, that's kind of a thing with, like, macro pressure that you'll understand more as you play the game more. It's like, that was a prime opportunity to slug. Because at this point, by 2 or 3 gens, you need to start thinking about, like, getting somebody out of the game. So if you could just, like, leave Cheryl on the floor and then go after these two. But hard to do that if you just haven't played the game a long time. Or at least have the knowledge to do that. Yeah, they went to the left there. You have purple scratch marks and you're on a purple map, so probably got lost there for that reason. Is this alien? Yes. It is their blighted skin. You know what's a weird thing to think about? I always tell people stuff like this. For those of you guys who have played DBD for a long time, did you know that Cold Wind, old Cold Wind, before the remake, existed at the same time as Trickster? Isn't that weird to think about? Yeah, you didn't see anything I know where to hide, so it's probably better just go and butcher this. Okay, send up your eruption. That's a mistake I still make all the time. Kicking before I look to see if there's a turret around. Yeah. When you have a kick build, it just feels very natural to be like, come out of the tunnel and kick right away, but you do have to look. Like I said, I get lazy about it too. For sure. Realistically, you need to get on Ada here, but, like, you have no idea where she is. Good job. Quickly hook her and quickly get back to one of those gens, try to pop her up it. There's one right here that you hear somebody on, though. So that might be the one you pick. Realistically, I don't think you win this. I think that, like, it's their game to throw. You had one too many extremely long chases in the middle of the game. And as a result, you're just kind of like up a creek without a paddle, so to speak. You're in a really rough spot here, because that's a god pallet straight into a flame turret. Which is not great. It's a good placement by them, though. They did a good job. But, yeah, that does hurt you. There's Ada. You should go after Ada. Don't stop to kick. So one of the things that you probably will learn as you get, you know, as you get more hours under your belt is that it's very rare that, like, stopping and kicking a gen is, like, worthwhile before starting a chase. A perfect example is, like, one of the perks you have on now is, like, Pop Goes the Weasel. If you have a pop that's about to wind down, you're about to run out of the ability to use it, then depositing on the gen really quick and then starting the chase usually is worth it, just because, like, pop does so much damage to a gen that it's, like, worthwhile to stop the chase. But realistically, you would have been better off here just starting the chase on Ada instead of giving her this big head start on you, and then coming back and, like, pop erupting the gen, especially considering the fact that she's death hook. I think 9 times out of 10, giving a survivor a head start is always a bad thing. So I would try not to do that, even if it means, like, kicking a gen. I think you're going to try to cut her off here, but, like, without knowing where she is. This is a thing. I'm going to say this is in my soapbox. There are so many people who play Xenomorph this way, and it's... I think I have the credentials to say this. It's so bad. It's such a terrible, awful way to play the character. And anybody that you hear advise you to do this play style of, like, hit somebody and then go into the tunnels and follow them, don't ever listen to them. It is horrendous advice. It is awful advice. Because you just found out in this game exactly why you don't do that. Because you hit them and then hopped in the tunnels to go like track them down, and they didn't even go near that control station at all. So you kind of started a chase and then just, you have nothing to speak for it. You got nothing because you hit them, they went away, and then that's it. GG's, they're gone, right? And that's how it goes 9 times out of 10 when people do this strategy. They'll hit them, go into the tunnels, and either A, they don't go near the control station you think you're going, so you just lose them, or you find where they went, but it's not near a control station at all. So even though you know where they are, you can't really do anything about it. Well, that's why I'm saying, like, I get that's the meme you're going for, Mercy, but like that's why I say that that Jason is a better Xenomorph kit. Because Jason can do that. He can hit somebody, and when they get a lot of distance, just like, and then teleport on top of it, right? Because they have so many options of teleport spots. Xenomorph does not. Xenomorph gets 7 teleport spots, and that's it. Across the entire map. So just like hoping that the person that you hit will end up near one of those so you can, you know, pop up and get value out of that. You keep in mind, unlike like Jason and like Springtrap, nothing happens to you when you do this, right? When you pop out of the control station, nothing happens besides the killer instinct of the 16 meters of killer instinct. You don't get haste, you don't get undetectable, they don't scream, like there's nothing besides the killer instinct. So there's not really any advantageous reason to do that. Like, it's one of those things, like, once again, sure, on unaware survivors that don't know to avoid like getting near a control station after being hit, sure, that'll happen sometimes. But like most times, dare I say 9 times out of 10, it'll be this, where you hit them once, you go in the tunnels, and they either don't go near a control station at all, or you find them, you find where they went, but once again, not a convenient control station to come out on. So I wouldn't, please don't listen to people who say that. What really frustrated me is there was like it was one of those like alien guide, but like the character had only been out like 2 or 3 weeks, and they were just like saying like a lot of really weird stuff. Like, thank you for the follow, I really appreciate it. They were like, oh, yeah, crew headset is their best add-on. And they were doing this. They were recommending, yeah, hit somebody and then leave. Xenomorph is one of the best hit and run characters in the game. And it just wasn't true. Like, the character is really not built to do that. Why is that so loud? Is that really loud for you guys? Or is it just me? Dude, that was really loud for me. That was like, I got the 40 experience. Yeah, with that person, it was like, it was kind of clear they just made the video for like, you know, the quick attention of the brand new character, but gave out so much bad advice. Like, so much bad advice, and it just, I think it really sucks for me, because I'm like, I'm trying to help people learn and understand the character the best that I can, and there's so much like misinformation I gotta correct from like those early days of the character. The rock on a sling thing is also something that's like really frustrating, because that's like not how the power works at all. But like so many like very popular content creators spread the idea that like, oh, Xenomorph's tail is like a rock on a sling, and it's like, that's not how that works. Thankfully you got one of your Death Threat gamers out. Ideally you'd want to find Ada again here. That's easier said than done. You really should break that God palette. Don't leave me that up, but you don't really have the time to do that. She shouldn't agree to that. She should have just threw it. A mistake on her part. What I used when I played Xena for a while, and it made you miss a lot of your shots, right? This loop's really good. This is like one of the only formal loops in the game, and it's insanely good. You get 2 really good pallets in the actual like grocery store, and then you have the God pallet back there. Or the God pallet, the God window back there. It's so good. All these spear example, yeah, because that's how it works. Like, it was literally just people talking out their behinds and spreading it. It just seemed like it made sense, so people spread it. Which sucks. That's why I'm such a stickler for like misinformation. Yeah, like I said, this is kind of their match to throw. Oh, she just sandbagged her. That sucks. Ooh, that's rough. Well, you get a 3K here. But it's more because Sable messed up and not because anything else. Alright. Let's take a look at kind of perks they had. Just realized your annotation little icon there was on, but oops, too late. There's one event toolbox, a couple deja vus. That makes sense for the kind of like gen pressure that they had. So you guys can see it. Yeah, a couple deja vus in the event toolbox, because those first two gens went relatively quickly. And then they kind of slowed down after that, so I think that like completely makes sense. Yeah, in terms of your main takeaways, realistically, the thing that hurts you the most to get in the first one here is that like your ambitious mind games extended your chase time pretty extensively. And by ambitious mind games, I mean like when you would go to follow somebody and they would disappear behind a wall, and even though it was like a really long wall, you would just like back up and try to like slide all the way around and hope that they wouldn't see you coming. That, like I said, it's fun to do that every once in a while, but by and large, the better survivors you face, the less and less and less they're gonna fall for stuff like that. If you're on a map, say like Larry's has a lot of like easy ways to do that because there's a lot of entries and exits to a lot of those rooms. But in like places like Trickster's Delusion, where like a long wall could either be the entire length of a building or like 3 or 4 feet on the other side of the wall, it's just kind of a big gamble to do that. So it's like, it's generally just kind of a bad habit to carry that kind of playstyle to other maps where you're like, oh, what if I just go the long way and maybe I'll cut them off? I think the key word there is maybe. Maybe you'll cut them off. And if you want to consistently get better and you want to consistently win more of your games, we don't form strategies based off of maybe. We form strategies based off of things that would work more consistently. Which I think here, like I was pointing out in the match itself, it's that like if you have like things like Bamboozle Self-Destruct Bolt, you already have an excellent anti-chase tool here, that being your synergy between Bamboozle and Self-Destruct Bolt. So just like follow them, and if they get to a window, shut down the window, and then play around the palette. You didn't need really to go for these super ambitious mind games. You really didn't. So I would try to like cut down on those in your future matches, because that's where a lot of your chase time got really bloated and it wasted a lot of time in the match, and match time is gen time. The more time you spend in a game not pressuring and hooking the survivors is more time that survivors are spending on gens. So try not to do that. Well, hi, Ryan. Happy you're back to the game. Hopefully it's been treating you well so far. In terms of your second takeaway, try, like I said with the tail attack, try using your body mostly to strafe. I noticed like during this match, when you did strafe with your body movement over your camera movement, a lot of your strafes were far more clean, but you need to really emphasize that. Use your body movement to strafe and then use your camera to kind of correct as needed. Why'd you pew me? And then correct as needed. That way you can be a little bit more accurate with your strafes, because a lot of your chases were also bloated early on by you strafing with your camera and kind of erratically moving a little bit too much, and then you would hit a wall, you would hit like a stray piece of debris, and it would put you way far behind in your chases, where if you would strafe with your body far more smoothly, you probably would have hit. So try doing that. And then finally, probably for your last takeaway here, is that when you're dealing with your flame turrets, try to prioritize using your lunge or basic attack to break them rather than going for your tail attack, because you don't incur a movement speed penalty whenever you break turrets with your M1 or your basic attack ability, as opposed to using your power. So try, especially when you're using something like Emperor's Star Map or Emergency Helmet, where like it makes it way easy to do that, you should definitely be taking advantage of that instead of eating that movement speed penalty for no reason. So I would try to focus on those three. That first one was why this match was so close, because your first chases were kind of brutal, and that's why the match was close. So I'd try to focus on that first one, but all three of these should be helpful.